Hello everyone, this is CometTalk with Cashlaw. It's a new show that we're doing. It's just going to be a sports show. Leland's still going to be with me for the sports part. Next episode, we're going to be adding Jake Millich. We're still going to do the sports interviews, talk about all the local scores, national news. It's going to be the same thing, just a little longer, adding a few more things, and it's just going to be sports.
Don't worry, Lauren and I will be back. We're going to do a much shorter version so the students at the high school can watch it during advisory.
All right, now we're going to go into local sports. The only JV game I had that was posted was boys basketball, who lost to ESM. Carthage was 30, ESM was 43. It wasn't a very good game, but it's still early in the year. It's JV, a lot to improve on. So now on to varsity. Boys swimming, Carthage lost to Sandy Creek, 38-54. For girls basketball, they lost to Indian River 61-22. Girls volleyball beat Thousand Islands 3-0. And girls volleyball also had a tournament over the weekend, and they placed second behind Chittenango in the tournament. And Becca Fifield made the All-Star team. So shout out to her, the volleyball team. It's a very strong tournament they had. Boys basketball, they played ESM and they won 61-53, and they also played IHC and they won 56-33. And Walker Ovanchik got in the game. It was a pretty cool experience seeing, like, you know, the guys that always don't get the most attention, don't always get in, got in, and Walker made the most of his opportunity, drained a three. So we have a special little interview for you.
Special MVP. Oh, you're going to interview Walker? Okay, sorry.
We already did after.
He already did.
Clutch the game. Clutch the game. Chubb, how are you feeling right now?
This is going on
After just
CometTalk.
making your
This
first
is going on
three
Comment. Why
in
is
your
it going on
varsity
CometTalk?
career.
What?
Varsity
how's
career,
it
just made your first three. How are you feeling right now?
Pretty good. I mean, pretty good. Kind of shocked by the press conference now, but
As soon as you released it, did you know it was in?
oh yeah. Off the fingertips, I knew that was going in. I can't lie, I didn't.
And you were just focused on getting back on defense. I didn't see
Yeah.
really much, like,
I mean-
in the moment. You were, like, straight back to business.
Hey, always gotta keep playing defense, gotta keep playing the game.
I don't know if you saw it, but, like, I passed out.
I heard that. I heard that.
And so, like, I had to be carried off, so I'm sorry. I
That's
didn't see
disappointing.
exactly what happened after.
Okay, fair enough. I understand.
How do you feel like your performance was besides the
Pretty good. I had a turnover, which was kind of disappointing, but and defensively had a foul. But otherwise, I mean, it was pretty good. I thought could have been a little better, but I mean, it's nice to get on the floor, you know.
Always room to improve, too. Keep working.
Yeah,
Keep working
yeah.
on your craft.
I'll get better.
I've seen a lot of improvement. How do you feel the team as a whole played?
Oh, as a team, in the first half we played terrible. Like we played very bad in the first half. Just disappointing performance, but we brought it back in the second half, held them to I think 10 points in the second half, and 6 of those were against our bench. So in the second, we played like we did in the second half, and we'll be pretty good going out.
How do you feel about the season moving forward? Do this team can go places?
I think we got a lot of potential if we can keep things tidied up like we did in the first or in the second half. I think we got a really good shot to do some big things.
Thank you for the post-game interview.
Yeah.
Walker Chupavancia. This is CometTalk with Cashlaw.
All right, we're also doing this new Zoo Crew segment. We're gonna do like the chant of the week, a new chant that we feel like our Zoo Crew needs to learn and utilize. Just different cool things like that. Not necessarily ones that everyone knows, ones that we do, you know, but just ones that we need to learn about and try more in games.
Yeah, we're really looking forward to kind of building the Zoo Crew. That kind of depends on the class, I think, each year. And I think that we're a class and we really want to make improvements. We really want to have a loud voice and we really want to be the 12th man. So we really hope that you guys tune in to this show specifically to learn about all the new chants that we'll be doing.
And this week we don't really have a chant. We just encourage, you know, like the defense chant needs to happen in these next few games. We need to be loud when our defense is out there, when we're playing defense, because as much as you don't think it has a factor, it does. It's very important. It gets our team riled up, and that's one thing that we definitely need to improve on. So the defense chant needs to be incorporated more. and so we need to be louder during that. But also we'd like to talk about, for the General Brown game on Friday, we will be handing out newspapers, and when General Brown has their starting lineup introduced, we will open the newspapers, get behind the newspapers, and just stay behind the newspapers until their starting lineup is done being introduced. Then when they're done, just close the newspapers. We'll come around, collect them. Don't crumple them up and throw them behind, because that can cause some problems. We can get in trouble for that. So just fold them back up. We can reuse them, recycling, very good. So that's a plan for the General Brown game. If we do it correctly, if we pick up our mess and handle it like we should be able to do it in future games and reboot that tradition.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a really cool thing. They've done it. They did it a few years ago, kind of went away. We're going to bring it back for sure. So yeah, whip out your newspapers and pretend like you're reading. And then when it's our team's turn to announce, we do our introductions. Go crazy.
We've been doing it for years and years and years. Kind of died out the last few years. So we'd like to bring that tradition back, bring back that atmosphere in the Zoo Crew. All right, now we're gonna go to our interview. We interviewed some coaches' kids, Delaney Escudero, Luke Proley, and Walker Levancia. Want to know what it's like being a coach's kid at Carthage? Thanks very much. And now I'm here with Walker, Delaney, and Luke. And I just want to know, what's it like being a coach's kid?
There's definitely a little bit more pressure being a coach's kid, but it's not all that bad. So.
Sometimes I wouldn't say it's that much different, but I definitely like being around sports like my whole life, so that's awesome.
It definitely adds another level to sports that you wouldn't really get not being a coach's kid, but it does make it more interesting, for better or worse.
So, do you ever receive criticism from your dad about your performance?
I definitely do. But yeah, it's constructive criticism though. I'm used to it, so I don't really complain anymore, but definitely received some criticism from him after every one of my games. So.
I ask for criticism sometimes because my dad was never my coach, but I know that as a coach he has a lot of good advice, so I'll ask what he thinks about it.
Yeah, like Luke said, it's just, I've been getting criticism for a while now, and it's all constructive, it all makes you better, so I appreciate it.
So what I want to know is what are car rides after games? On the way home, what's it like?
In my car, it can get kind of intense sometimes, My dad's not afraid to say what he thinks about how I played, so, but like I said before, I kind of expect it now, I'm used to it.
On the car ride home from my dad's games, I usually don't talk if they lost because he gets really passionate. So I just keep my mouth shut. But if they won, then he's in a good mood, so that's good.
I think we're kind of unique in this sense that we're really calm. We discuss it, but we don't go over the top. We just kind of keep things calm in the car and just keep it under wraps.
So does the outcome of their games affect their attitude at home?
Sometimes it will. Definitely in a better mood with a win than a loss, that's for sure.
Yeah, pretty much the same thing he said. With a win, then not much changes, but with a loss, and I just let him have his time.
Yeah, about the same. Obviously, it feels a lot better to win than to lose, and you see that with their emotions after a win or a loss, so sounds about right.
And like you guys said earlier, it's definitely an added pressure almost. So who do you try to prove yourself more to? Your teammates and Carthage students or your dad?
I don't know. I try not to make it so that I have to prove myself to anybody, but I'd say probably more of my peers and my father at this point.
I kind of find myself trying to impress the school more than my dad, but kind of also all my dad's friends that are all coaches. I kind of hear a lot from them too. So whether they're joking or not, but it's just kind of trying to
Yeah, you kind of try and go out and do the best for the school because you're representing your school more than your parents in that sense, wearing the school's jersey. So I think it's important to go out and play for the pride of your school more than anything else.
All right, so this question's for Luke. Do you ever watch film of your game with your dad?
Sometimes I will. Not too often, but this past football season we watched a couple games together. But, it's useful. Point out some things that I can improve on helps out a lot.
And Delaney, since your dad is a coach, do you feel like you know more about sports than most of the girls in the school?
Not necessarily. Like, I think I'd probably enjoy being around sports more than a lot of girls just because I've grown up around it and I love it. I love watching all the sports.
And Walker, so your dad coaches at IR. What's it like even playing against him?
I will say it's really tough because growing up playing for him and then once I got in high school now having to play against him and have to root against him, it is kind of a transition that is kind of weird to take, but I mean, it's all for fun once you get to play against him and once you get to beat him, it's really fun. So.
And one last thing I just want to know, do you guys have any superstitions that you go through like before your games?
I don't. Not personally, no. Not very superstitious.
I have to wear like all of my, like I can't borrow ever. Like, I have to wear all the same socks and stuff. So.
I try to listen to like music before games, just kind of like in the zone. But other than that, not really.
I used to be very superstitious, but I kind of like grew out of it personally. But I know everyone's different. Even professional athletes, you hear like some crazy superstitions. So very interesting to hear.
What's that noise? Did you hear it? Oh, okay, we're good.
All right, on to national sports. So first, I'm just going to talk about Green Bay. Their coach, Mike McCarthy, got fired this week. Very hot topic. He's been a coach for a while. They have not been good this year, but they have the best quarterback in the league, so many people say they should be able to produce with Aaron Rodgers, but that's very interesting. And also, Ohio State's head coach Urban Meyer said he's retiring. Whether people speculate that he's not actually retiring, he's just going to step down for a little bit, and then he's going to go to a new school like he did at Florida. At Florida, he said he had, chest pains, health problems, and then Ohio State offered him a head coaching position, and he took it. So we'll see if history repeats itself or if he's actually done coaching in college football.
That'll be interesting. I think that's just not the way to do things with the Green Bay Packers. I think they just should have waited. I find that to be kind of, not disrespectful. Obviously, he had the right to be fired, and like it was probably however it was worded in his contract. But I just don't. That's just not. I don't mean to sound childish, but it's just like a not nice thing to do. I feel like give him some time to recuperate. I'm sure they gave him warnings, but still.
Well, he's had 13 years, so I'm sure he'll get picked up by another NFL team.
Yeah,
for sure.
I think probably already is.
We'll just see how that works out. Now we're going on to kind of upsetting story, a sad story. Kareem Hunt. He, many of you have probably heard about it. There's a video out of him assaulting a woman in a hallway. It's very disturbing. It's a very awful thing to see. This incident happened in February. There were no charges. The NFL didn't investigate. He met with the Chiefs, and in his interview with the Chiefs about the incident, he apparently lied to the Chiefs about what actually happened. The video was released, and he got cut from the Chiefs. He's no longer on an NFL team. It's just a terrible thing. He's on the commissioner's exempt list. So if he does get picked up, it's just a sad, sad thing to see something like that happen and a role model of sorts, an NFL player, hold himself like that and behave like that in public and put his hands on a woman. It's not.
I was just going to say that. I think that's probably the biggest part, and I think that NFL players, that's what they go for, not only to play the sport that they love to, but also to be a role model to everybody who watches. I definitely don't think it's another good thing for the NFL to have on there. They handled it correctly. It's a disappointing situation, But
Did they handle it correctly though? It happened in February.
no, in terms of like firing him, I mean they did eventually, but I'm just not feeling it in terms of everybody has consequences. You got to face the consequences, and he should even be thankful that they waited that long. I mean, he had longer.
And he had an interview after being caught, talked about the incident. He said how it's not acceptable and all these things, but you can talk all you want, but you gotta let your actions speak louder than words. Do stuff in the community, do stuff to help raise awareness, be a good person, and then not worry about your NFL career. Worry about how you handle the mistakes moving forward, and be a good person first. Don't worry about your NFL career. Don't do it for publicity stunt, you know.
Yeah, I agree.
So now on to college football. Georgia and Alabama played in the SEC championship this weekend. Georgia was up by 2 scores in this game, just like they were in the national championship last year. And Alabama came back and pulled it out. For those of you who don't know, last year in the national championship, Jalen Hurts was Alabama's quarterback. He was Alabama's quarterback his freshman year, all of his sophomore year, up until the championship game. He got benched at halftime for Tua Tagovailoa. And then Tua started over him all this year. Jalen Hurts benched. He never transferred. He stuck with the team. And then Tua got hurt in the second half. In the fourth quarter of the SEC championship game, Jalen Hurts came in, and all the talk about him, about how he's only good with his feet. He doesn't have a good arm. He scrambles well but can't throw well. He silenced his critics, came in, made some key throws, difficult throws that many quarterbacks can't make, college or NFL, and came out and led the comeback and won the game for Alabama. So just the storyline of him being the starter, getting benched this season, and then he finally gets his chance again and makes the most of it. Doesn't leave his team, doesn't let his team down, and when his team needed him the most, he was there.
Yeah, that's an awesome moment in terms of putting the team on your back. I think that's certainly what he did. I think that's a big moment for his fans, for his family. Yeah, I'm very happy for him, and I hope that they make the right decision in terms of giving him a larger role in terms of the injury and all that.
Now, do you think he should be Tua was only injured for 2 weeks, so he should be healthy for the playoffs and for the championship game?
I think
Who
they
do you
need
think
to
should
do.
be the starter?
I think they need to do an extensive review, but I think they should make the ultimate decision. I think that they should honestly go with Hurts. Yeah, what's his name? Yeah,
Jalen Hurts.
Jalen Hurts. Yeah. Not Tui. I was getting them confused.
Tua.
In terms of Tua,
I feel like Nick Saban's the best coach in college. I feel like he's one of the best coaches ever. Phenomenal coach. I feel like he knows who the better quarterback is. Jalen Hurts played amazing in the moment. Just shows like if you need him, he'll play. But I feel like Tua's a better quarterback. Tua brings more to the table, but I feel like if Tua needs another week or two, they can rest him in the first game of the playoffs and then play Tua in the championship. Granted, no wins there's no given win, especially when you're playing the number 4 team in the nation in the playoffs. But let's be real, it's Alabama. They got multiple weapons. I think they could do whatever they want, and I still think the playoffs theirs.
we'll see. I'm not Alabama's biggest fan, so I'm not really. I see an upset. That's all I'm saying.
All right, so now, continuation of this story, the college football playoffs. The rankings came out, the playoff teams were announced. Bama 1, Clemson 2, Notre Dame 3, Oklahoma 4, Georgia 5, Ohio State 6, Michigan 7, and UCF 8. Now, what's your opinion on these rankings?
Okay. I definitely think, we saw it in the Georgia-Alabama game. In terms of Georgia they have promise. I think that 5 was it was kind of a stretch in terms of to place them all the way at number 5. Overall, I think no one is ever going to be happy about who makes the top 4. So that's what I suggest. It's not my own opinion. I know other people out there are talking about it, doing a top 8, kind of expanding the top 4. I know they just started in terms of the playoffs. So I think it's time to do some little self-reflection in terms of the NCAA. Expand it to the top 8. Maybe it would bring in more revenue for the NCAA. I think they should expand it to the top 8. And then obviously some people are still going to be upset if they're number 9. Oh, they should have been in. But I think that adds a little bit more excitement to college football, and I hope it's something that they do.
Many people thought that Georgia should be 4. What's your opinion on that?
I definitely think that they should be. Like I said, they just show a lot of promise. I think that I feel like they are a team that could pull off a championship win. I think that a lot of times there's a lot of underestimating some teams, and I think that they did that for Georgia.
I personally feel Georgia's a phenomenal team. They hung with Bama. They hung with them in the championship game last year, SEC championship game this year. But the thing that really gets me, if that was their only loss, they'd be in, no doubt. But the LSU loss, they lost by 20 points. Bama beat LSU 29-0. The 2-loss thing for me is tough. If I'm in the committee's shoes, I don't know, Georgia, I feel like is the better team. Georgia's a phenomenal team. But the committee, historically, they've never put a 2-loss team in. Georgia's not a conference championship, even though they say that's not one of their main criteria. It is. It is. Oklahoma also only had 1 loss. It was a last-second field goal to Texas. They ended up beating Texas in their conference championship, so they avenged their 1 loss. So I feel like Oklahoma, that's why they're in. The team they lost to, they ended up beating later in the year. They're one of the best offenses. Granted, their defense is atrocious. It's terrible, but their offense is just ridiculous. They have a Heisman candidate. I know Ohio State has a Heisman candidate, but let's be real. It's Tua or Kyler Murray.
Yeah.
You know, it's one of those two. So, like, politics-wise, they say politics don't play a factor in it, but you have a 1-loss Oklahoma team with a Heisman candidate. Of course, you're going to want to see him go off against Tua, the other Heisman candidate. You want to see those two compete.
Yeah.
That's just how it works.
I also think we're overlooking Ohio State. I think Ohio State at 6. I mean, I can see how it's appropriate, but I think that a lot of people probably underestimate Ohio State as well.
I think their 1 loss was bad. They had a terrible loss. They also
Always
should
a
have
fluke.
lost to Maryland. They should have lost to Maryland. They've had multiple games against bad teams where they barely pulled it out. Granted, it's a win, but they did not play consistently throughout the year, and
That's
committee
exactly the
just
type
didn't
of team.
grant that.
Yeah, that's true. But that's exactly the type of team that could pull off a championship if they were given the opportunity to. So once again, that's why I think top 4 is way too technical. Expand it to top 8, something else, and bring it down, because then you allow the teams like Ohio State who have that potential to possibly win the championship.
I like their choice with Oklahoma. I'm excited to see Oklahoma's offense, see how they hold up against Bama. It's still Alabama, so I still think Alabama's going to win, but it's interesting, you know? Keeps things interesting. All right, now we're on to the game of the week. Sunday, December 9th, number 6 Tennessee plays number 1 Gonzaga. So, who's your pick?
Oh, okay, already? I don't know if you're going to give any background to the team. Obviously, I'm biased. I'm a Duke fan. You should know that. Gonzaga beat Duke by 2. It was a fluke. But obviously, I would like to see Gonzaga lose. Obviously, Gonzaga's number 1 ranked team. They deserve to be there. But I'm going to go with Gonzaga. I think that if they can beat Duke, they can certainly beat Tennessee. I don't really care what Tennessee has. Duke has a lot, and they beat Duke. So a win's a win. It was only by 2 points, but they can beat Duke. They can beat anyone. But I'm not going to give a lot of credit to them, because I feel like if we see Gonzaga later in the season, in March Madness, Gonzaga's going to lose to Duke. But.
Tennessee, ranked 6. I think people are definitely sleeping on Tennessee this year. Very capable team. They took Kansas right down to the wire. They only lost by a few points to Kansas, who's ranked number 2. Many people thought they should be number 1 after Duke lost. So Tennessee's a very capable team. They've hung with the best. They've beat decent teams. They have a really good roster this year. But I personally just think Gonzaga is really good this year. I think they're fundamentally sound. They have a really good defense. They're capable of scoring the ball. As you saw against Duke, they can close out games. They can defend multiple. They have multiple defenders that can shut down multiple positions. I just think that Gonzaga is wicked good this year,
I agree.
and I think they have the win. And that's all for this episode.
Thanks for watching.